Sixth Doctor was portrayed by actor Colin Baker. He was of no relation to Tom Baker, who portrayed Doctor Number 4, and he was in the role for 3 years, starting with his first story, The Twin Dilemma, which was the final serial of season 21 in March 1984, and his last one being The Ultimate Foe, the final serial of the Trial of a Time Lord's season, which was the 23rd season, which aired from November to December 1986. Baker in total was around for total eight total stories, or eight stories and 31 separate episodes. The 8 stories being The Twin Dilemma, Attack of the Cybermen, Vengeance on Varos, The Mark of the Rani, The Two Doctors, Time Lash, Revelation of the Daleks, and The Trial of a Time Lord season. With The Trial of a Time Lord season being split into essentially 4 different serials, all following one plot line, with the final serials being The Mysterious Planet, Mind Warp, Terror of the Vervoids, and The Ultimate Foe. Now, in that time, he also travelled with 2 companions. Probably one of the Doctors who had the least social time with any of his companions. He only ended up having 2, one really throughout his entire run. The one who remained throughout most of his time aboard the TARDIS was Perry Brown, played once again by Nicola Bryant, who carried over from Peter Davison's era of Doctor Who into Colin Baker's. And Bryant remained pretty much for Colin Baker's entire run, eventually departing in the second serial of Trial of a Time Lord, that being Mind Warp. And towards the end, they did also introduce the new companion Mel Bush, played by actress Bonnie Langford. But since she only really had 2 stories to get to grips with Colin Baker's Doctor, she wasn't around for very long. Now, Colin Baker's Doctor also became known for several things, and he's probably the most divisive Doctor out there. I mean, he definitely has his fans, don't get me wrong, but he was also known for being quite aggressive. In his first serial, The Twin Dilemma, while you could argue it's under his regeneration sickness that most of the Doctors have had, he ends up throttling his companion Perry, which overall doesn't get him off to a great start, and was known for being a bit more argumentative and violent than some of his previous incarnations. He was also known for having a rather garish outfit. Now, this was apparently a period in the 80s where pretty much the show's success wasn't really judged on how good the show actually was, but more on how many toys you could sell. So to try and get Doctor Who toy sales up a bit more, they apparently provided Colin Baker with a rather garish outfit. If you see it, you know what I'm talking about. Most of his coats were patchwork, multicolours, reds, greens, yellows, and there's one that's mostly blue, but still patchwork coats. Usually wearing a collar with a question mark at the top of it. Now, this was apparently very different from what Colin Baker wanted his Doctor to wear. He apparently wanted something more what Doctor 9 ended up wearing, which was basically all black. He wanted his Doctor to become more black, more severe, more restrained. But it was apparently they wanted to sell more toys, and so he ended up with the patchwork coat. And Colin Baker apparently is the only actor to actually be let go from the role. Now, why this happened, I'm not entirely sure. I've heard multiple things about it online, about why he was ultimately let go. Some say that it was because he didn't get on particularly well with the main showrunner. Some say it was because he'd had a rather messy breakup with his partner at the time, and while he remained on good terms with her, she was a friend of the showrunner, and he took a slightly different view, so I don't know. I don't know the exact reason as to why they ended up letting him go. All we really know is that his final story, The Ultimate Foe, he does actually end it, and it seems as though his Doctor will go on. But at the very start of the next gave Serial the next season, Time and the Rani, his TARDIS is knocked off course by the Rani, and they find him go lying on the floor, and she says, "Leave the girl, it's the man I want." And as you turn over, you see the next Doctor actor lying on the floor, his face. Basically, what they did when they came to his regeneration sequence, I have heard it said that Colin Baker actually refused to come back, but I have also heard that what they did was they got the next Doctor actor in, who I'll get to, and basically dressed him up in Colin Baker's outfit, had him in a blonde wig, lay him on the floor, then turned him over, took off the wig, and continued from there. Now, as I said, the Sixth Doctor, due to all of this, he is fairly divisive. Some like him, some don't. Some are in the middle. I can see all parts of it. But one thing it is, I think, key to mention about Doctor Number 6 is they haven't tried to wipe him out. Say, oh, that era didn't happen, or the like. They've stuck to it. I mean, this isn't a case of, oh, that didn't end up working. You know what? We'll just say we'll circumvent that Doctor. That one happened in another timeline. Yada yada yada. They've stuck with it. They've continued to say that that Doctor is part of Doctor Who canon. This isn't something that's been wiped out. So I do think it's worth checking out. I mean, at the moment I've only actually seen 2 of Colin Baker's stories. That being his first story, The Twin Dilemma, and the multi-Doctor story he did with Patrick Troughton. That being The Two Doctors. So I can't say I'm that familiar with his Doctor overall, but from the 2 stories I have seen of his, I can see both sides of it. I can see why people might dislike him, but I can also see why others might. And I do think he deserves his place in Doctor Who canon. But that's all really to say on the Sixth Doctor. He wasn't around for very long, only 2 years, or 2 or 3 years, but he definitely made his mark on the show. And you know what? He doesn't deserve skipping over any more than any of the rest of them. So, the Sixth Doctor, while I admit he isn't my favourite, I think I can give him a bit more leeway than some of the others. But that's what you need to know about Doctor Number 6. Next up, hopefully soon, Doctor Number 7. Anyway, when I get around to that, I'll let you know. See ya.